It's time for another episode of Let's Talk Business, featuring interviews with South Carolina business executives, community leaders, and government dignitaries. Let's Talk Business is a truly one-of-a-kind business-to-business talk show. And now, here's your host, longtime South Carolina business publisher, Rick Jenkins.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Business South Carolina. I am your host, Rick Jenkins, and I am glad you're with us today for episode number 17. Whether you are checking us out on our YouTube channel or maybe you have downloaded us on one of our podcast platforms like Apple or Spotify or Google, regardless of how you're consuming the content today, I am glad that you are. I consider this kind of a special episode that we're doing today. It is the construction outlook for 2024. And I think that everyone knows that when you are looking at the economy and when economists are looking at what is causing things to expand or contract, there's a lot of things that they look at, as we all know, and some of them are very obvious. I mean, things like inflation rate or unemployment rate or the GDP and how it's responding. But some things that we don't always think about are things like residential housing, commercial and industrial real estate, and commercial and industrial construction. Construction starts, manufacturing demand. I consider these kind of the harbingers of what the economy is going to look like down the road a little bit. And that's why every year we always do a construction outlook. And this year, to help me with the construction outlook, is Eldon Gowens. Eldon is the Vice President and the Division Manager at Carroll Daniel Construction. Eldon, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
It is good to have you. I haven't seen you in quite some time. We have done one of these videos together, but we talked earlier, it's been a few years, back during the COVID year.
That's right when we were establishing our office here.
That's right. So thank you for joining us, and I look forward to this conversation. But before we get into the construction outlook, I want to talk a little bit about you and Carroll Daniel. So just first of all, where are you from, and how long have you been in South Carolina?
Sure. I grew up in Alabama, but I've been here in Greenville since '99, so this is home now and will be for the foreseeable future. We started Carroll Daniel office is based in Gainesville, Georgia. We started the Greenville office back in May of 2020, right in the middle of COVID.
Oh, yeah.
And we've gone from zero revenue and zero projects to multiple projects and approaching $100 million in revenue out of this office in 3 years. So it's been a whirlwind, been fast moving, but great for the company and great for the investment that Brian Daniel put into us.
If you arrived in Greenville or opened up in Greenville in May of 2020, that's pretty much when they shut the state down.
Pretty much.
I mean, COVID started in March. We were the last to shut down, but it was right in that ballpark. So you came in, you opened a new office, and what do you know? The state is shut down for business, but you persevered.
We did. Thank goodness construction was an essential business, so we could continue with projects. And with that, there was two of us here. We met with people at a distance. We did a lot of phone and computer interviews and talks. So it was a way of getting our name out. We came on your show to get our name out. So it was there was strategic works there, but we made it work, and we're here now. So
okay, let's talk 2024 construction outlook. Construction starts are up considerably year over year, and I'm talking about projects that have gotten underway. Tell me about that, and how much are we talking is up, and is that going to continue?
Yeah, what we've noticed is that manufacturing construction starts are definitely up. It takes the client a little bit longer to make the decision to get started. They go through quite a few iterations of pulling the budget together and then pushing the go button. But manufacturing starts are up. We have seen a little bit of decline in what you would call developer-driven spec buildings.
Yeah.
A lot of those are coming online with vacancies here in the upstate and throughout the state. But where you have a client that needs a building, so whether it be build-to-suit or a manufacturing client, those manufacturing starts and those construction starts have been on the incline.
Define a start for me.
I would say a start is shovel in the dirt.
Okay.
You can't say a start is when they have an idea or when you win the contract.
Yeah.
It takes a long time for them once you break ground, we call that a start. Yes.
I got you. Makes sense. Let's talk about construction cost for a second. I mean, costs have gone up. I mean, on a lot of the materials have gone up. And so I don't know to what degree they've gone up, but give us an idea of what has happened, how it's gone up, and what that trend line looks like.
Sure. Couple things. We do a market report every quarter through our company. We have a couple of bar graphs, one here being what's up and what's down year over year. Concrete still going up. Steel has been down over the last year, but it may be coming up a little bit right now. So there are definitely, from the time we started this business in COVID, after 3 years, what would have cost a client back in 2018, 2019, even 2020, some of those prices are definitely up 50 to 80% for the same kind of facility. So a lot of clients do get sticker shock if they haven't built a building in 5 or 6 years, or they haven't built one since COVID. The bigger thing from a price perspective is delivery of certain items, especially electrical equipment. That kind of equipment is having lead times in the year to over a year, 12 to 14 months. So the way these, typically the way we want to start a process or a construction site is you want to start it and not have to unmobilize and come back. So you want to base it on sort of the longest lead item. And so if you're basing that on electrical gear or when it's going to ship, you may not even start they may be wanting you to start, but you can't really start and mobilize just one time. So along with the pricing has gone up over the last 3 years, more of the lead time of some specialty equipment, whether it be electrical equipment, even some HVAC equipment, can drive the schedule and the cost of the project.
As I look on here, a couple of things that stand out to me, and again, we're talking a 12-month period from September to September, so ending September a couple months ago, is that concrete, as you mentioned, concrete types of items are up 10 to 15%. Lumber and plywood down about 15%. I don't know why, but that surprises me a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's the lumber and plywood, the supply got caught back up from their manufacturing facilities, so they've sort of reversed that reversed the trend of what was going on during COVID with the amount of workers in the facilities and things like that. So they've caught up. The concrete is a lot from the ready mix and the materials that go into it, the aggregates and things like that are up. Therefore, when you place it or you buy it into, whether it's in a concrete pipe or you're placing it out there in a concrete slab, that price has gone up.
Of course, a few years ago, we were talking about COVID. A few years ago, a lot of folks weren't used to hearing the words supply chain, and then, of course, it became all too popular in our general lexicon throughout these last couple years. Supply chain was in horrible shape a few years ago. What's it like today?
It's better. A couple things: automation. Some of the just finding the workers to run these facilities hasn't gotten any better. So the manufacturers have automated. They've done a lot of consolidating of facilities so they can get it from one spot. But that's helped a lot. Is just the amount of throughput from these facilities, whether it be roofing, whether it be pipe, whether it be concrete, things like that, ready mix. It's just they're getting more efficient with the number of people they have and the equipment that they have in their facilities.
You know, workforce issues creep into every single industry that there is, right? I mean, in this state, in South Carolina, we're used to hearing about manufacturing types of workforce issues or hospitality, tourism industry, and that kind of thing. Does it rear its ugly head in construction?
It does. It rears its ugly head not only with our staff and the way we recruit and go after people for our company, but our subcontractors, just having personnel, just having a consistent crew on your site on a day-to-day basis. We see a lot of turnover from week to week, sometimes even day to day, of who will show up there for the trades, whether it be an electrical sub or a mechanical sub or a concrete sub. So having that consistency of those folks is really needed, because the quality can go down. The leadership or the workers you have one day come in and don't know how those guys were doing it, or the gals were doing it the day before. Therefore, you could have definitely some problems in efficiency and the schedule, along with the quality.
You find it getting better, worse, or same?
from a staffing perspective, I find it about the same. From a quality perspective, I find it a little lacking, going down a little bit. Yep.
What's to do then? How do you address it?
You know, I think it's
just a battle.
It's a battle. I think it's the subs not sort of fighting amongst each other to give a guy, you know, another little bit to come over just to have a person. I think it's those subs and even us keeping our field personnel, our leadership, our superintendents, our foremen, keeping them happy, whether it be with pay or benefits or things like that, the type of work. That goes a long way. Showing them being personal with them, keeping it. This is a family-owned business, so we try to keep everybody feeling like it's a family, and I think that helps with our attrition.
What about pay? I mean, it's
up.
Yeah, I would think so.
It settled down a little bit compared to probably a year ago, but it is definitely up. Therefore, it's not only up with us, it's up with our subs. Therefore, when you go to the client, that's why they get sort of sticker shock sometimes is what the costs are now.
Right.
Not only from the materials, but the labors now, both of those have gone up. So they're like, yeah, this didn't meet my budget I had 5 years ago. Now that I want to do it now,
right,
I got to go reevaluate.
Let's switch gears here a little bit, just go in a complete different direction, talk about green building for a second. And I'm not sure that I have no idea what your answer is going to be to this because I don't know where we stand in South Carolina with this, but green building, sustainability type of issues, that type of thing that has become more and more a part of our general awareness over the last few years. Do you see that impacting you guys in any way?
A little bit. We get clients asking for a couple things. What do we do to how do we approach sustainability in our construction sites, things like that. There are some means and methods that we can do to make it almost a zero landfill type construction site, so we can implement that. It's almost the direction of the company of what they're looking for. How do they want to promote themselves? And then with that trickles down to a construction site. So we are typically talking with clients about that. They want to know either or, what's it going to cost me, that kind of thing. Some are like, no, you're going to do this. So that's something that we put into our execution plan. It seems to be driven a lot more by maybe European-based companies who are looking for green power. They're looking for low carbon footprint, things like that. And there are means and methods out there in the construction industry to help them adhere to that.
So I would guess, of course, that, we know that the materials that you use for green building and sustainability projects, of course, are more.
Yeah. Right?
I don't know to what degree they are more. Do you have a feel for in terms of a percent of like engineered wood or things like that?
I would say at a minimum you're looking at 10 to 15% more for that type of material versus the normal everyday code compliant material.
Right. So you're probably looking at companies that are doing this, that are large companies concerned about brand image, that are going to do it regardless, even though it's a price increase. But if I hear you right, maybe the other companies where it's an option, they check out the price, it's a little too much, and they go standard. Is that basically right?
Yeah, that's basically right. Sometimes we implement a few things, like let's say they would like to see what level of lead they can get. Well, they may not be able to get the level of lead they want, but they would like to, adhere to some of the lead standards, and we'll do that for them in their mechanical systems, their building systems, things like that.
Switching gears again, let's talk about safety, and especially safety trends, especially as it relates to wearable tech.
Okay.
I know I was at a manufacturing event not too long ago where I was looking at the coolest wearable tech that you've got, whether that be a hard hat or boots that counted how many steps you were taking, or eyeglasses, or whatever it is.
Right.
How is that impacting business today?
It definitely impacts it. We see it. We definitely see it on the hard hat side of things. There's the one that looks more like a biker helmet now compared to the old hard hats that we have that are now the new ones can withstand impact all the way around the head instead of just on the top like a standard hard hat. They have integral face mask and chin straps so they don't blow off in the wind. They don't blow off if you tilt your head one way or the other. They're really helpful on impacts that might be to the back of the head or to the side of the head. So we are utilizing those slowly but surely. We're getting those out there. I think people look at them in a different way, like, what is that? But you see some subs and some general contractors like us implementing those types of things. The other thing that's going on in safety is the whole virtual training that we're using now. So we're using the goggles and virtual training to help our guys with safety training. A lot of the younger people coming out, the newer people into the industry, aren't getting a lot of they don't have the time to go through the on-site and in-field training. So we're doing a lot of that to help sort of speed that along, so to speak.
Let's talk about technology trends. You hit on artificial intelligence. AI is in every single industry that we have now, and it's always amazing to me that I'll hear, X industry is having artificial intelligence issues, and I think, how in the world is artificial intelligence involved in that industry? But then, of course, you read about it and it becomes completely logical. Tell me how and you touched on it, tell me how artificial intelligence is incorporating itself into your industry.
Yeah, so we do it a couple of ways. One is the safety training, where they can walk through a building or see a system and see what's going on. Instead of having to be on a job site that would, we would have to mimic something going on bad from a safety perspective. This is a way of showing it virtually. We do a lot of virtual work with our engineering and design. So it's 3D modeling. You can walk through the building. You can see the building from outside. That's been very beneficial for clients to. You can't build it so fast for them to see it, but you can model it. You can get it from a rendering and so clear that it looks very real, so they can see what their building looks like. You can walk through it to see if there's any class detection, whether it be from piping or doors or walls or things like that. So you can, doing all that pre-construction helps you save time, save schedules, save materials, things like that.
Yeah, I have seen that technology, and it amazes me. It's really cool. I would assume that the architects are involved in that in some way, right?
That's architects, engineers, even the equipment manufacturers. You can get their files from the equipment manufacturer, set it in this model, so you can walk around the paper machine, or you can walk around the non-movements machine, things like that.
Yeah. I put on some goggles, and I went through a building, right? I walked through a building. This has been a year or so ago. But you could do things like, let's see what those windows look like if we push them down that way 5 feet, or let's move that door from there to here. And it was just the coolest thing. I would imagine that people are all over that technology these days.
They are. It's transitioning. There's still the generation who likes pieces of paper in 2D that they can pull through and write on, and then there's the others that don't even use paper. It's all on the computer. It's all virtual. It's on their phone, whatever.
Yeah, it's the equivalent, I guess, of folks who still like to hold a book or a newspaper in their hands as opposed to those who don't. Let's talk about cloud computing. That is something also that I would assume would make your job easier from time to time, now that people can access information that they need to on the site itself. It's right there. How does that work?
Yeah, so we do everything on the cloud, especially for our projects that we set up so that our field personnel, our engineering team, everybody that's on the team has the information instantaneously. So if someone makes a change here, it goes through, it supersedes all the other drawings, and the most up-to-date drawings is in front of everyone. We do the same thing with all of our data, whether it be the schedule, the financials, things like that, are transferred via cloud. So whether it's our exec team in Gainesville, our team in Greenville, our project team, wherever they might be, somewhere in the United States, can have access to the information all at the same time. So it is definitely something that we do. We protect it as best we can. We are definitely protecting against any kind of cyber attack or anything like that. So that the whole cloud thing comes up, that brings another risk involved. But we use companies and people to help us protect that.
All companies these days are having to protect themselves from hackers in ways that we never even dreamed of, a decade ago. So technology changes so fast, you got to stay up with it.
That's right.
Building information modeling, or BIM. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, so it's a way we talked a little bit about earlier about using the information you have from design and from the building itself, also the equipment, to manage the building, manage the construction site, and exchange information. So we use it to help us do what we call 4D and 5D modeling. 4D meaning the fourth D is the schedule part of the construction. So the first 3D are the X, Y, and Z, and then we use the part about the schedule as the 4D, and then the 5D is taking that and taking that model and then doing the model-based estimating. So you've got the information in there, let's say the run of pipe, the number of walls, the number of the amount of sheetrock, and you know what the specifications of that equipment is, and then it will do a takeoff and then spit out an estimate of how many feet of pipe, how many square feet of drywall you might have, things like that, to help our estimators price the work.
Speaking of those types of things, is prefab construction becoming more popular?
It is in certain markets where you either prefab structures or you prefab process pipe. Prefab lends to higher quality because it's done in the shop and it's not field performed, so you can get higher quality on your welds and connections and things like that. Any of your cuts or breaks or anything like that. Especially if you have the model, then you can model that, and from the model, if you've got done your clash detection, you can then bring that into your prefab shops and prefab this equipment, take it out to site, and install it. And that saves time, because in the field, let's say you would have to have put 3 or 4 pieces together. Now that's all one piece, so it saves time. It's safety related because you can move that around. You're less time on either scaffolding or working above or having work above your head. So it helps on the time, the cost, and the safety.
You were talking in the beginning about construction starts being up, and a lot of it was tied into the manufacturing industry. Just give me some examples of things in South Carolina, the upstate maybe, that are manufacturing starts that have occurred recently.
Yeah, so you got BMW with their new battery facility, huge facility going on here in the upstate. You've got International Scout, or Volkswagen, building the brand new Scout facility down in the Columbia area. 2 great big builds sort of related to the EV market or the advanced automotive market. Not only is it helping the suppliers, tier 1, tier 2 guys that are already here in the upstate or in South Carolina, but there'll be more that they'll bring in. So there'll be, some tier 2 suppliers, some tier 1 suppliers that should be bringing several hundred jobs to both the Columbia area and also the upstate.
Speaking of EVs, what about infrastructure, logistic infrastructure for the EVs? What's going to happen there?
That's a question that I don't have any answers for. I'm asking the same ones myself.
Yeah, a lot of people don't, right? I was just saying if you might be the only one, but
I wish I did have the answers. I see more charging stations going up, but I haven't heard where I can pull in and get a charge as fast as I can fill my tank with gas.
Right.
So I think it's out there. I think there's got to be more than just the buildup of EV vehicles, more EV vehicles for sale. There's got to be some communication about how we're going to sustain this.
That's right. We're getting away a little bit from construction, but there is a construction element to that.
There is, most definitely, because that's where a lot of these new manufacturing plants are coming from, whether it be the Hyundai investment down in the Savannah area, BMW with their battery facility. There's a Toyota battery facility going on in North Carolina. So it's all around us within a 3 or 4 hour drive that's driving that, and it's all coming from this EV market.
in terms of residents who drive EVs in the nation, South Carolina is one of the lowest states in the country. It just doesn't seem to be that important to South Carolinians, which I think is preventing any forward movement on the infrastructure from a construction perspective. But we'll see how that plays out. Okay, we're talking 2024 outlook. Put on your hat and look in your crystal ball and wave your wand or whatever else you need to do, and tell me what you see as we head down the road 6-8 months.
Yeah, so I see the manufacturing and that market still being still growing. It maybe not growing at the pace that it has over the last 4 or 5 years, but it is still growing. I think there's some pent-up capacity out there that's that these companies need to expand. There's foreign direct investment coming over, whether it be from Europe or Asia, still coming over and investing. One thing, 2024, it is an election year, so there's probably a little bit more of what does it look like, what does November and December look like, and then what does 25 through 29 look like. I think there's still a lot of sticker shock on some of the construction cost with these clients who maybe this is their first facility in the U.S. and they built their other last 3 facilities that have been in Asia or Europe, and so the sticker shock is there. So it's how long does it take them to make a decision to say, yes, we know we need to be in this market. We have a clear plan for this. Maybe our ROI is off a little bit. So how do we cut the cost, the initial cost, or we just plan for a little bit longer on the return on investment? So there's a little bit more. It takes a little bit longer for them the first time they get the price of their construction project to the time they sign a contract with the GC. That's taking a little bit longer, and I don't see that changing in 2024.
You talk about an election year. I never stop to think about it, but when you're talking about an impact from the election year, are you talking about that there will be some people that just want to kind of wait and see how the wind blows in terms of how the economy might be impacted by leadership change?
Yeah, I don't think it's a go no go type of thing. I think it's just more what is the country, which way is the wind blowing?
Yeah,
it's not anything so much political as just to see
just some caution.
Yeah, money's most definitely higher now than the cost of money is higher, and so I talked earlier about the speculative buildings. That's got that trending down a little bit. So maybe if it stabilizes or decreases a little bit, or whatever happens in the election could maybe spur some more construction.
I'm going to get you out of here on this. Last question. When COVID hit us a few years ago, things began to change in the workforce. People started working remotely, of course, and that is something that stuck around with us, and it's with us today in a lot of industries. People want to work remote. It started to swing back a little bit, people coming back in the office, but I don't think we're ever going to get rid of it. I think that to some degree there's going to be a lot of hybrid work schedules out there. And so my question is, from a construction standpoint, I would guess that there is that because fewer employees are now working in an office, and that offices are having to contract in some situations, that is impacting new commercial builds in some fashion. Is that right or wrong?
I don't know the right answer on that one. We don't do a lot of office buildings where or even headquarters where it's mostly people coming into the office that could work remotely. Most of the buildings that we're doing are manufacturing facilities. So I will say that the office space in those manufacturing facilities has shrunk a little bit.
Right.
They don't have as many offices. They have more of the hoteling, I guess you have.
Yeah,
people come in, they can grab a desk, do that type of thing. So you're not building as many walled offices as you used to. It's mainly open space and a few offices for some manufacturing leadership, more conference rooms, more smaller conference rooms, things like that. But from an office perspective, you'd probably have to talk to someone else about offices to see if that's contracted.
Yeah.
As based on your premise, I think that's probably true. The one thing in the construction industry that we have a hard time doing is 95% of our people are in the field, so they don't get to have a office day at home.
Right.
So we have a hard time letting even our office people not come into the office.
Yeah.
We want to keep it on a level playing field.
I understand. All right, everybody, we're going to end it right there. That is Eldon Gowens. He is the Vice President and Division Manager at Carroll Daniel Construction. Eldon, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for joining the show.
Thanks so much for having me. Maybe we'll do this every 3 years.
Okay, I'll see you back here in 3 years. That concludes another episode of Let's Talk Business South Carolina. Folks, we'll see you next time.